And we are back. What an interesting week. Before we get started, Bish, I'm just gonna plug the show because this is our most popular show. I'm just gonna plug the show we've just filmed. We've just done a playoff predictor show with all five except Tag Taylor in debating who we think's going to do well, who we think's going to do bad, and all the other ins and outs. It's a great show. It's a 25-minute watch. It's nice and digestible, and we go through everything and get stuck into each other. And all I'm taking out two things from the show, Bish. They don't think I'm going to do well, and everyone wants Matty Crimes to lose. So I think they're the two lessons I've took from it, Bish. But how are you? How did you do in fantasy, and what's up?
I'm very good, yeah. And just on that show as well, no one was willing to put themselves and back themselves. Well, everyone was a bit quiet. Yeah, I'm happy to have made it this far. Blah 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 blah. So it'll be interesting as it goes on. But yeah, it's again another good week. It started off a bit slow, I thought, 6 p.m. games, but it slowly built up into some great games in the 9 o'clock slot, and then obviously the big Eagles Cowboys game as well. So yeah, it's been good. 2 games tonight. Unfortunately, fantasy. Quick chat about that. Another loss for me. So 3 losses going into the playoffs, but it's a clean slate now. Knockout football. That's what my team's about. So when it matters, hopefully we'll come good. But yeah, it's just a little bit of a recap. Obviously, Baker Mayfield, a 75 game-winning drive for the Bucs, which sort of ties up the AFC South now. I say all 3 teams, but 3 teams with Carolina way out of it, all on 6 and 7. So that's a division up for grabs, and probably one of the most enjoyable games for me. Maybe a bit biased, but Rams Ravens. That was a great game. Both teams going blow for blow, and then with it being won in overtime by a punt return. A bit salty, if I'm honest, because there was a blatant block in the back, which is obviously a penalty, which got missed on it. But it was a great game. So yeah, Ravens back cemented the AFC number 1 spot there, and the Rams are looking good. A bit of work to do to get in the playoffs, but I think they're looking good to get into the playoffs. And probably all the wrong talking points. 2 games on the same day, first time it's happened in 35 years, were 0-0 at halftime. So a couple of games you didn't see much of. One game finished 3-0, which it's a soccer score, in it, rather than an NFL score. But yeah, so that was interesting. And the Cowboys spanking the Eagles, which probably made me sit up and probably take these Cowboys a bit more seriously now. They've won a big game, and they've got a kicker who can kick it from anywhere on the field. So yeah, it looked pretty good. And I keep going on, but probably the biggest talking point, the no touchdown, shall we say, the Kelsey pass, that was no touchdown due to offensive offsides, which is it's the rules are the rules. You can't really complain, but what a finish, what a dramatic finish that would have been. You would have been hearing about that touchdown for many years to come, I think, Joe.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's, like you said, that's probably the main talking point on Twitter as well. Fans have been going mental about it. Obviously, if you're Kansas City, what's your take on it, Bish? Obviously, I think, like you said, the rules are the rules. It's like you said, it was sad, but as a lot of fans on Twitter pointed out, the Chiefs do normally get the way of the voting and the way of the refs because of their big team, the ones who get the most fans watching. And I've got no complaints. I think, like you said, rules are rules, and also, yeah, I'm happy to see the Chiefs under a bit of pressure and my bet coming. So I'm not.
Yeah. No, it were good, and like you said, it were blatant, wasn't it? It's not like it's a 50-50, or you can see it's blatantly offside. So the Mahomes sort of theatrics after, not really keen on that, but obviously there's a lot of emotions going on. But it feels a bit hard done by. But I think when they look at it back on a fresh day, they can't really argue with that.
And then for the viewers who haven't watched the other show, I'll quickly run through it. I have 97% win percentage to make the playoffs. So I'll just take you through it. I've got Romeo. I'm up by 12 points exactly. I've got Romeo Dobbs left to play, and Marcus Stock has got the Dolphins defense. Defense as max points on a great day is probably 18 to 20, and that's if they do unbelievable and the opposition scores 0, which might be a possibility with the Titans. They've been up and down, depends how Derrick Henry and if they get going early, I think, with that one. But if they don't, it's a possibility. So I think if Romeo Dobbs gets 3 catches, gets me 8 to 9 points, I should be pretty much safe. If he doesn't, it's squeaky bum time, as they say, and it might be a late night for me tonight, Bish, on the edge of my seat watching this one. What do you think? Do you think I'm safe, or have you got a bit of reservation?
I think the sleeper app has got it. I'd rather, if I'm honest, I'd rather have the points on the board. I'd rather be sat in your situation, but as I mentioned on the playoff show, the Dolphins defense against the Jets 2 weeks ago scored 22 points. So, but I think Dobbs has got, dare I say, a touchdown. I think he's got at least 8 points in him. I think they'll throw the ball around a bit tonight. So, yeah, you're looking good. And Bassey's the other one, isn't he? I think Bassey he needs 19 points from Tyreek Hill and Devon Achane. So again, he's looking good there. So yeah, it's been a good year, and hopefully the best is yet to come.
Hopefully, yeah. Like you said, it's a tough one. Well, to be fair though, Danny Bravo still has DeAndre Hopkins, and if they go down early, there's only one man they're passing to, and it would be D-Hop. So you never know if he gets a touchdown or 2. But yeah, like you said, it should be Bassey's to lose there, unless Tyreek breaks a leg in the first unless he breaks a leg in that first minute, it should be a fairly safe one. But you never know if DeAndre Hopkins goes off here. The last 2 shows we've done could be might have to edit Sam's face in and go interview Sam.
We'll can him and do him again last minute.
But yeah, and then for the other ones who have been following all season long, Tag is the regular season winner. Well done, Tag. Devastated. I didn't think he drafted that good of a team, but he's been steady along. He's took your route, Bish, and I think it's the route I need to take a bit out of. He went high floor, didn't he? I don't think any of his. He doesn't have a Tyreek, but he has James Cook on very safe bet. You've got Bijan Robinson, who after week 3 or 4. Pretty consistent. You've got CD Lamb, who's been brilliant this year. He's had Jalen Waddle, who's had his ups and downs. He's had James Conner. He's done all right. He's had no amazing plays, but he's probably just chugged away with a good squad depth as well. Looking at it, he's got Kenneth Walker on his bench, Gus Edwards also, Chuba Hubbard. I think a good squad depth and knowledge of the game's probably chucked him through there, but he'd probably be my dark horse, Bish, of one that could have an exit here if things don't go his way, because the man himself, if he does make the play, sorry, I'm ranting here, but if he does make the playoffs, Seabass, he's got the likes of Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf, if he's not banned for a game or 2. He's got Achane. He's got who else? Tony Pollard, Travis Etienne on his bench. He's got Zach Charbonnet, depending on injuries. He's got Clyde Edwards-Helaire that he can drop in, but his starting lineup's very strong now. It's fully healthy. He's my dark horse pick to go all the way, even though I'm facing him in the first round.
That's a fair call, yeah. Just going back to Tag, yeah, I think Tag he drafted quite young, but I'm in multiple leagues with Tag, and one thing is he's very fluid. So he's made some good trades along the way and sort of got himself in a position where he knew he was in the playoffs, and then he sort of built his team for the playoffs. So on paper his record looks very good. It'll take some stopping, but this is the beauty of it. The last few weeks of the NFL regular season, there's a lot up for grabs. So hopefully, sort of form goes out the window, the old cliche, and it can rub off on our fantasy teams. And injuries play a part as well, as we see. Justin Jefferson comes back, he's back out. One big thing actually that we missed, Tag's quarterback is Justin Herbert.
Yeah,
he will be coming up later on in the show, so that's a big one for Tag. That's obviously depending on how long he's out for, that could be a big loss.
Yeah, and otherwise we've got in second place, we've got his name's Group 7, so it confused me because I keep going. We've got Matty Crimes, Group 7. Can you explain his name? I should have asked him actually, because
I don't know.
We don't know why he's called Group 7. That'd be interesting. But yeah, he's had Dak, who's had a very good year. He's got CMC, the number one player in fantasy football, position-wise and probably player-wise, been Mr. Consistent. He's also traded for Saquon Barkley, probably not as good, but he's got not a Quamius. He's got Amon-Ra St. Brown, the better St. Brown. He's had Jordan Addison in there. He's got Amari Cooper. On his bench, he's had Jonathan Taylor, Keaton Mitchell, Chris Godwin. He's got some good players, and I think that's a team that sounds like he's got probably a mix of both pitch there, and he's high upside, but also some bankers who are guaranteed 14 and 15 points.
Yeah, definitely. Again, another one who's done some trades and got amongst it. So obviously Jonathan Taylor being out hurts him a little bit. So we'll see how he goes without him and whether he comes back for him to use in the playoffs.
And then Bish, you could have third place depending on Isaac's result, but it's looking at the moment like you'll have third place wrapped up. How do you think your regular season's gone?
It's the last 3 weeks has not been great, if I'm honest. You know, I'm on a 3-game losing streak. I've lost again this week to Tag, but I'm okay with my side. I think my biggest issue at the minute is quarterback. CJ Stroud concussion, and I've got Justin Fields, but next week they're coming up against the Cleveland Browns. So that's, I think, my biggest issue. It seems I'm contemplating gambling and seeing, you know, I've got a couple on the waiver wire that I'm interested in who've got good matchups, but I'm not sure if I'll pull the trigger, if I'm honest. It seems a long way to come in the year just to try and gamble on one spot in the playoffs. So we'll see. But if I am against Seabass or whoever I'm against, I'll have to have a look, because like you've sort of stated, for me, I prefer the flaws rather than the sort of boom or bust. So if I'm coming up against someone who has got Tyreek Hill, Devon Achan, I might need a bit of that boom or bust to take a gamble. So we'll see how it goes. But I think that's my biggest one to think about is quarterback.
I'm not to challenge you. I'm going to question you, because I think you're also next biggest decision looking at your team here is at running back. You've got David Montgomery, you've got Josh Jacobs and Austin Eckler. Will one of them hit your flex spot, or which one you're picking? Because I think that's a big choice, because all of them have had their bad games. Montgomery's been the most consistent, but I think you've got a huge decision there going into your week 15.
Montgomery's playing. You know, he's losing a lot of. To be fair, he is losing a lot of carries to Gibbs, but he's playing against the Denver Broncos, the worst run D in the league. So he scored every other week, apart from last week and the game he came off injured. So apart from that, he's scored every other week. So if I can get a touchdown and 60, 70 yards, I'm happy with that with him. I think my Josh Jacobs, I've got to look to see if he's fit. But probably now what comes into my flex spot is no Justin Herbert means quite a big downside possibly to Keenan Allen. So that's possibly another one. But it's just who's fit, I guess. If Jacobs isn't fit, there's not much of a decision to make.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think, if he is fit, you probably, like you said, it's thing Austin Eckler's been up and down all year, had a good week last week, so form's in your favour. So, yeah, like I said, if he's fit and if Jacobs is questionable, it's probably an easy answer, to be fair. The next one, Bish, I've got to go is who's going to be your kicker. I think we'll cover that later on, maybe. So I'll leave that one, actually, but I'll just put it in fans' thoughts. And that's it. And then it's me next, and then Seabass, who I mentioned with the team, with my favourite team going into the playoffs, who potentially might not even make it if he loses, as we went over. But yeah, that's it. That's the playoffs. We'll find out after tonight. I'm really excited, Bish. I think apart from Seabass, if Seabass's team stays fit, I'm a bit worried. Everyone else, I think they're all pretty close. I don't think there's no standout clear winner there, Bish. I don't think.
What do you think about your team, Joe? Obviously, looking into next week. Yeah, you've not gone over your own. I know. Well, I've mentioned it there. Justin Fields, obviously coming up against Cleveland Browns. I know DJ Moore's been a pretty good player for yourself. Kyron Williams looks very good, doesn't he? And Joe Mixon's playing well. So I'm guessing there's not much for you to think about, really. I guess the Dallas defense might come back in. Possibly Aaron Jones if he's fit next week.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be watching the games tonight. If I stay up or I'll be watching them all and reading all the storylines behind them all, because I'm hoping I've got Kyron Williams, Joe Mixon, and obviously, as you said, Aaron Jones are all at it and going for next week. I'm a big running back fan. I think they give you the floor normally. They give you consistency, and if I can put one in my flex position. My other big one, as you've said there, is if DJ Moore is worrying, he's probably earned to start anyway, just with how good he's been. But if not, keep an eye on Romeo Doubs. If he gets a few touchdowns, he's been getting better and better. Christian Watson's been out. He's out this week. Probably have to see if he's out next week. They're against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who can't defend any wide receiver. I think he could be in for a shout, but that's the $1 million question. If Dobbs does show he is legitimate a number one wide receiver tonight, DJ Moore, Romeo Dobbs. DJ Moore clearly the better wide receiver normally, but with a very tough matchup. Or Romeo Dobbs against probably the best matchup in the league for wide receivers. But I think, it's going to be a nervous weekend. Devonta Smith probably has to go in. They're against they're against the Seattle Seahawks. Their number one cornerback, Witherspoon. I've got that right. Witherspoon will be probably against obviously AJ Brown. I'm hoping that opens it up a bit for Devonta. So that's probably there as my safe bet. He doesn't score under, his lowest is 7 points. I think he's there for safety. So yeah, DJ Moore, Romeo Doubs, Aaron Jones, between those three, that you'll probably find my flex position, but I don't think anything can be answered until tonight.
Yeah,
this is filmed on Monday evening, by the way, for viewers who might not get what I'm saying. Monday evening, so I'm watching the games closely, and a tough decision. Hopefully no injuries, though. So I've got all my options available. Let's get into it, Bish. We've given all the fantasy news. Not all the fantasy. We've gone through all our fantasy league. Again, there will be 1 or 2 spots open for next year. Get commenting if you want to be in. I think it's been fun. Obviously, if you watch the show, just had there, great crack, brilliant, with a good group of lads, and we're all loving it. If you love rugby league or love the NFL, preferably love both, join us and get involved in something special. We want to maybe open it up to 2 leagues. We were going to try do that this year, but we went for a close knit this year. Next year we could open it up if there's enough people wanting to join. Otherwise, let's get at it, Bish, and we're into the injury report. Who have you got?
My first one up is going to be Justin Jefferson. You know, obviously he's been out since week 5, fresh off the bye. They announced he'd be back week 14, and he catches a ball. I think he broke most receiving yards from in the first 5 seasons. So he's and to say he's been out obviously since week 5, that shows how incredible what a job he's been doing since he entered the league. But he went up, caught a ball, landed, and he got a massive hit sort of to his ribs, I think. I think it was reported as a chest injury. He went to hospital, actually came back to the stadium and went home with the team. So it looks like nothing serious. I think they were checking those ribs. They seem okay. So it's just a case of seeing how he gets on this week. They play on Saturday. There's 3 games on Saturday this week. So that's 1 less day for him. So we'll see how that one goes. And obviously, if you roster him, you want him available for the playoffs. So if he's out on the field, is a guaranteed start for you. So it's just a case of monitoring him. Even if he's at 70%, 75%, you probably play him. The only one to watch out for there is the Josh Dobbs got benched. So who his quarterback is, we're not too sure. But Justin Jefferson, I'm sure he'll still get those targets.
Yeah, it's huge, Bishes. Obviously, I think you give him justice, but I don't even give him no. It's the number one pick, isn't he? He's the number one pick at the start of the year. It can't get more important, can't get more league winning or league losing. Obviously, all your investments into Justin Jefferson, if you do have him, it's probably been a tough year, an up and down year for you. Isaac's not got away with it, but done well. I'll give him credit, well to manoeuvre around it. But yeah, I think if he starts, and he's fairly healthy, he can go on and win the league for you. If he's not, it's a tough year, and you have to look for next year and maybe edge your bets with someone else. I think if he carries on getting injured, you'll be haunted, and you won't be going deep in your playoffs with your number one pick. I don't think, unless you've done very well in trades and waiver wire pickups, I don't think you'll be going very far. So yeah, it's huge news. Get watching. If you're against him, get looking. If you're not him, get looking, because it's huge either way. And if Justin Jefferson is out, good luck, because if you make it further than round one, you deserve a round of applause, I think. I'll take you through my player. I've actually got a quarterback who you mentioned earlier, Justin Herbert. Got injured, and it was with I get my fingers, it was with this finger on his throwing arm, the most important, that puts the spiral on the ball. That's why when you hear a finger injury, that's why it's so important, because it was the one that basically creates the spin on the ball, that adds the speed, trajectory, and angle. He fractured it. So it's looking very unlikely he'll be back for next week and going forward. This doesn't only affect Justin Herbert's fantasy owners; it affects Keenan Allen owners. I think it affects every position, because Austin Eckler's fantasy values in his receiving game, really, and depending on how much you believe on Eastern Stick, if they don't get anyone else in, it could be a tough. I don't think they'll bring anyone else in. I think they're probably out of the playoffs now, Bish. It's tough for them. Brandon Staley's career is on the line, so he might do to try and salvage his not getting fired, but reports are end of the season he's gone. So if he sticks with Eastern Stick, I think it writes off a lot of Chargers players, and you'll make your decision with Austin Eckler, I think, a bit very, very tough.
Yeah, and probably a double blow. They play Thursday night this week as well. They've got the Raiders Thursday night. So just echoing everything you've said there, they are 5-8, probably not in the playoff picture. With the future of your franchise on his throwing arm, throwing hand, it's probably not one you risk, I don't think. So again, massive effects for fantasy. In our league, Tag has him. I have Eckler and Keenan Allen. So yeah, massive effects for us there. Eastern Stick, well, they drafted him, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. I think he's only started 2 games. So, yeah, not really expecting much, but you've got to play your studs at this time of the year. I don't see how you don't, unless, well, obviously depending on the makeup of your squad. But for me, it's not. I have to play him. So, yeah, it's fingers crossed, and I know Eastern Stick can have a magnet to Keenan Allen's chest.
Yeah, it's as I've said before, squeaky bum time for you, Bish. I think that's it's a tough choice to make, but it's one like you said, you have to. If Josh Jacobs does come back, it might make it different, but it's probably, like you said, it's probably looking likely he won't for week one. But first week of the playoffs. So yeah, Bish, take us through your second injury report.
My second injury report is 2 players, and it's for the Texans. It's CJ Stroud, who left the game with a concussion, and also Nico Collins with a calf injury. So, last week they lost Tank Dell. This week they've lost Nico Collins, their other star wide receiver, and potentially the quarterback for a week, who took a pretty heavy blow to the back of his head on some pressure. And had to leave the game. So, and that just leaves them totally. Davis Mills will be the backup quarterback there, but it leaves them with no options really. I think it leaves them with Robert Woods, Brevin Jordan, the tight end, as Dalton Schultz is still out, and John Mechie, and I think Xavier Hutchinson as well. So, some not fantasy players that you need really at this time of year. So that's a tough blow for those owners, and one to watch. And one, if they both can't make it, I think it's an offense, similar to sort of, I don't know, not as bad as the Panthers, I don't think, but it's one that probably you don't see bearing any fruit, the first round of the playoffs.
No, it's certainly not a good one, especially like you said, with how good CJ has been for all the wide receiver core. I think, like you said, anyone that it depends, because I think your only upside is most of them players you mentioned wouldn't have. None of them are high draft capital. In any, even the other wide receivers, none of them are high draft capital. So you've got to hope that the people you drafted higher can step up and be there for you, and you're not relying on essentially waiver wire pickups. I think in most cases there, so you've got to hope you drafted well and they can come through when you really need it. Otherwise, if you're relying on waiver wire pick and players who have been good throughout the year, but yeah, it's a tough one, because that probably, if they are making it in every week, that's probably mean you needed them and you had high draft stock at one point. And yeah, it's just a tough. Any injury at this point, this is tough, innit? I don't know how else. Probably repeating myself, but I don't know how else you go into it other than saying, yeah, good luck, and hopefully you've got some fab left if you're in a fab league to make a couple of choices. I'll go through my one. I've got the man who I've mentioned a few times. Actually, I'm going to cover Josh Jacobs. He was spotted being evaluated by the Raiders trainers in the fourth quarter. Tried to walk it off, but he was limping, grabbing at his leg, and he never returned to the game. It's going to be tough. It looks like it's going to be a no for this week. If he does come back, it's against the Chargers, Bish. So you're probably thinking he can get some points. They need to get some points after a shocking 0 pointer this week. I think the Raiders need him. I think they might, if he can play. I think he'll be playing. That's where I think we're differing. It depends how bad it is. Obviously, there's no official designation yet, no official report out as per this recording. I've searched multiple sources, but Bish, I think he's going to make it interesting, because I think he's going to make it this week. So I think they need him for their own pride. Never mind playoff or anything else. For their own pride, I think they need Josh Jacobs in, because otherwise it could be another 0 pointer.
Yeah, and I suppose the positive thing is he walked off the field rather than being carried off. So he did walk off. It was late in the fourth quarter, so it might have been a sort of a niggle, with one that he can recover from. But again, it's a short turnaround, which is the biggest thing. It's a race against time. If he can't go, I'd like to think in most leagues, Samir White would be on the waiver wire. Maybe you slot him in if he can't go. But again, this time of year, you need your studs, so you're hoping that he's back against the Chargers defense, which you could see some points there. Javonte Williams played him last week and went pretty well. So yeah, you want him back for that matchup.
You do. Yeah, well, so it'd be interesting for you, because you're his owner, you're his man. Let's see what you do. I'll certainly be watching your roster and the news for you as it goes in. But I think we're on to the more good news, as I say every week. We've got the fantasy flops. Who's your first fantasy flop?
My first fantasy flop, again, the guy from my team, Matt Gay, the kicker for the Colts, finished up with -2 points in the punt league this week. Missed a field goal from pretty close in front, and then missed an extra point as well. So, and just to add on to it, I actually traded away Dustin. Well, I didn't trade away, but I also dropped Dustin Hopkins. I just thought he had a tough matchup. He racks up 9 points. I bring in Matt Gay, and he throws up -2 for me. So that could be a position I'm looking at this week, and maybe it might be a straight swap, get Hopkins back in.
Yeah, it's a big I get you. Shocking kick. He ended up with, like you said, -2 points, didn't he?
Yeah, that was it. A missed field goal and a missed extra point. Didn't go to him again.
The thing I think it's worth a debate now. Not worth a full debate, but does he get dropped from the team completely? Because I know in history past, a performance like that normally gets you dropped, Bish. Normally gets you off the waiver. What's your think? Will he get dropped, or will he keep his position going?
I think he'll stay. You know, he's been pretty good on the year. He is top 8 on the year. I'm just looking through his scores now. Apart from the -2, the week before he racked up 14 points, 9 points. You know, he's at 24 points in week 3 against the Baltimore Ravens. So he's regularly scoring over 10 points, which means he's making his field goals. And in a team like the Colts, where Gardner Minshew's in there and they're probably needing those field goals to finish drives off, I think he'll get another shot at it, and hopefully he nails it this week.
Yeah, I like the support. We don't like to see anyone get sacked. But yeah, I know in the past NFL teams are absolutely ruthless with the kickers. So I think it would be worth at least following up on for the storyline alone.
Well, he might get dropped from my team, so that'll be dropped.
There you go. My one, I think, is the storyline of the weekend in terms of negatives. Josh Dobbs' story could be over. He got dropped in the fourth quarter of the game. Had a stinker, ended up on 4.62 points. He got 63 throwing yards. It was a rough game all out. One of the worst games ever. I think they made way too many. They kept putting them on red zone, and I know obviously for the storyline of the 0-0, so I get it. But then all the plays would just be absolute stinkers. And I wanted to see the good stuff, and I think it'd be more entertaining if they didn't show them for ages, then dropped it still 0-0, but they kept actually chucking plays on. But other than that, yeah, Josh Dobbs really struggled. I don't know what else to say, Bish, from his highlights and everything about it. He's a running quarterback. They stopped the run. Max Crosby didn't allow him to get much going, and he'd been his number one wide receiver got injured on the second or third play of his second or third catch of the game. I think maybe slightly harsh, Bish. He's had a good year. He's had his ups and downs, but I think it was a harsh call. One bad game. Do you reckon he'll come back in, or is that the Josh Dobbs story over?
I think it could be it, if I'm honest. You know, he threw 4 interceptions the week before the bye, and a couple of them were tough because it came off. You know, the defenders tipped it, the receivers tipped it, not caught it, and it's ended up in the defenders' hands. But yeah, I think it could be the end of him, or at least they try and bring out another quarterback. Nick Mullins came in, but I think they've got a young rookie called Jaron Hall who took over from Dobbs the first time, but he got concussed. So I think he might get rolled out just to see what they've got in him, because it is a funny one though, because they are still in playoff spots at the minute. So you know they're still in contention. You know they're still got everything to play for, and rotating 3 quarterbacks at the minute. So that is a tough one. I'd like to see Dobbs play because I own Hawkinson, and we know he likes to throw to the tight end. So fingers crossed he gets back in the team.
Yeah, Bish, who's your second fantasy flop?
My second one is Mike Evans. You know, the wide receiver for the Bucks. Only 1 catch on 6 targets for 8 yards. So 1.3 points this week in the punt, and he did nearly have a touchdown. Unbelievable catch. Got his left foot down, but unfortunately just put his hand down before he got his right foot down. But it was acrobatic stuff. But yeah, he just a pretty quiet game, to be fair, for Baker until that last quarter. You know, Rashad White sort of took over the game, both on the ground and through the air. So yeah, a rare quiet one for Mike Evans. You know, he's Mr. Consistent usually, like we've said. Usually good for that 1,000-yard a season that he's reached and a touchdown. So a little blip there, and hopefully those owners is back firing all cylinders for the playoffs.
this is the time you need him. As you know what I mean, as we're saying about everything, this is the time you need him. Like you said, I think he doesn't deserve a bad game. I'm thinking of the wrong word. I think he was due a bad game. I think he's had a brilliant year. He's exceeded all expectations put on him. They thought Chris Godwin was going to take over as the number one wide receiver. They thought it's his time to slow down. He just hit, as you said, 1,000 yards last year by about 4. Did he get it by 70 yards? So like 1 or 2 catches. I don't mind him having one bad game. I think as a fantasy owner, you can probably look the other way and go, you know what, Mike, I don't mind. Just perform next week.
Yeah, that's it. Against a good defense in the Falcons, so you can, like you said, you can afford it every now and again. So hopefully he's back.
My one bish, my last one, I've got Stephon Diggs. Got targeted 11 times, but only 4 receptions for 24 yards. Probably dropping this in because I'll give a thing to my betting. It landed me a good bet at the weekend that this game wasn't as exciting as everyone thought. I had a feeling it was going to be that way. The Chiefs are good at stopping hero ball throughout the year. Every team that does has a clear one wide receiver and a quarterback. They actually do quite well against. Chiefs seem to struggle when there's lots and lots of options, i.e. the Packers and I think when there's one particular option, they get shut down. Obviously, 11 targets, so he's still getting thrown to, but he recovered, only caught the ball 4 times. Like you said, an interesting one, really, because the game wasn't brilliant, was it? A lot of stop-starts, a lot of talking points on both teams' offenses, but the Bills pulled it off in the end, but not through Diggs, surprisingly, which I think, if you heard the storyline beforehand, I think you would have been surprised that Diggs didn't have that good of a game.
Yeah, that's right. It ended up being the James Cook show, didn't it, really? He took over. So, yeah, again, a tough matchup for him, and next week it doesn't get any easier. He's got the Cowboys next week as well, so another good defense. Again, it's another player you must start, and you're just hoping that it clicks next week.
Fish, take us through your segment. We've got the top players of the week. I'm sure you've got a great player for us.
I've got an offense for you. I've got the Falcons this week, and we make a joke of it on the show of Arthur Smith not being a fantasy fan, not listening to getting Beige on the ball and Kyle Pitts and Drake London. Well, this week it happened. Against the Bucks, somehow they still managed to lose. They lost 25-24. 25-29. But their offense was on fire. Ridder 26.4 points, threw for over 340 passing yards. He had 1 passing touchdown and 1 rushing touchdown. Bijan, 17.3 points, 88 total yards and a touchdown. Drake London, some unbelievable catches. Didn't quite get a touchdown, but 172 receptions, receiving yards, 10 out of 11 catches. And Kyle Pitts, the tight end unicorn, who we all thought would take the league by storm. Well, he's in double figures as well, 13.2 points with 57 yards and a touchdown. So, 14 weeks, this offense has finally clicked. And, if you own any part of that, then you're laughing this week. And, going into next week, you're hoping whatever Arthur Smith is telling them, that game plan, just rinse and repeat it. But this time, get the win.
I'll disagree with you, Bish, in a fun way, in that I think Arthur Smith will be seething. The one week he's out, Mr. Anti-Fantasy Football, Mr. I hate fantasy football. I don't care what you say, what fantasy football fans are saying. He's finally opened it up and changed the way they play, and they lost. I think we'll see a reversion back to the norm of seething watching the Atlanta Falcons from now on. I think loads of running game. Cordell Patterson will be back. Who's my man? Tyler Algier will be back, and he'll slow it down again. He opened it up, and they didn't get the win. I think he'll be Mr. Fantasy Football more than ever, and I think he'll be ruining the day you listen to fantasy football fans with the loss.
That's a fair point. But I do put this on the defense. They're in a winning position, and the defense have given up a 75-yard drive. with the clock ticking down. So, hope he don't play IDP. So he won't be happy with those defenders.
No, my fantasy football top player of the week is simply Deebo Samuel. 7 receptions. He had 9 targets, 149 yards and a touchdown, and a rushing touchdown, I believe, as well. But I've just got the wide receivers. I've got his receiving stats up, but he actually had a rushing touchdown as well because he had the big reception. And Kyle Shanahan gave him the ball and said, "Thank you for that reception. There's a touchdown for you." And so two was it 2 touchdowns on the day, and loads of receiving yards. For me, Bish, I put him in there because he had a great game, but also I think we've got clear Super Bowl favourites. I can't see anyone stopping them. I said to you beforehand, in the first half of the game, they seemed to be close, but that defense with lots of experience on it all around seemed to just lock in that second half. I don't know what it is on that second half. From the halfway through the second quarter, it's like they figured them out and go, all right, we've got the plan. Probably through the coaching, the defensive coach, and everything to do with everything. To be fair, they figure out these teams. They get quiet in that second half. Same with Philadelphia. Same with Seahawks. Same with most other teams they play. If that offense is fully fit, I can't see it. I think we've got Super Bowl champions, Bish. I can't see anything else. If obviously it is in football, if everyone stays fit, I can't see anyone else getting involved, Bish.
Yeah, fitness is the key. They've struggled over the last few years. Obviously most so last year in the championship game with Brock Purdy. So yeah, but they do look very good. And Deebo, he got stopped at the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
And then on a deep ball, and then Kyle Shanahan gave him the touchdown on a running play. So they've got so many weapons, and he's getting hot at the right time of the year, innit? And they're giving him those. CMC used to take all those carries, and now they're bringing him in as a sort of added running back, dual threat sort of player. So yeah, they've got a lot of pieces, a lot of great pieces, and like you said, it's fitness is the key, I think, for them.
And like you said, that pass rush as well. They just Nick Bosa and the squad. Obviously, it's not Chase Young, is it? I keep saying
yeah, Chase Young.
Yeah, no, Chase Young been added to that team, and they just wear that offensive line down, don't they? They're both fit, young, still on the young end of players, very fit, and they just wear everything down, and they're just so good. Bish Deebo's been awesome. Ayuk's had his great games. Purdy, when he's on it, is, to be honest, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And then CMC, you've got there's stars everywhere. You've got George Kittle, the best blocking tight end, mixed with having some games where he's a brilliant receiver. I don't see a clear weakness other than if you match. Teams do seem to get points in that first half. Whether they can replicate that and make it a full game, we've not seen it in a while. So, I can't see what else is going to happen other than 49ers. Fair play to any other team that beats them, Bish, because it'll be well deserved.
Yeah, it's and now they're sat number 1 ranked in the NFC as well. So, if they can lock in home field advantage all the way again, it's another major boost for them.
Bish, who's your second breakout player of the week? Your top player of the week?
I'm just going to stick with that team. To be fair, I'll give a special mention just to Lamar Jackson. I thought that game was a very good game. He went, both teams went blow for blow. So I'd say more some sort of missed assignments on defense, but he had a few long balls, one for OBJ for a touchdown, and Zay Flowers late on to take the lead. So he's looking good. They're looking good. So yeah, again, they're back top of the AFC. So yeah, a little shout out to Lamar Jackson.
I've got as my second top player of the week, I've got a man who I believe he's now 40 years of age. He was going to be an announcer. He actually got given a job and he turned it down. They're saying Mr. Joe Flacco. week 14 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, 311 yards passing, 3 passing touchdowns for 20.3 fantasy points. So I've just gone over the San Francisco team. Well, you've got a team here that, with a competent quarterback, could do a lot of damage because they've got the best defense in the league. They've got stars all over that defense. They just needed someone to at least keep that offense going. They've got Amari Cooper. They've got some very good tight ends. Njoku, I think it's Njoku. It is Njoku. Had a brilliant game himself, 2 touchdowns. They've also got Harrison Bryant as the blocking tight end. They've got some underrated player, Jerome Ford at running back, who's come out and said, I'm pretty good. Kareem Hunt in and around as the veteran on the team in that running back / receiving running back role. They've got a chance of how good that defense is. If Joe Flacco keeps playing to this level, Bish, they've got a chance.
They have, and it's amazing, isn't it, if you think about it? They've lost the big money quarterback, they've lost the number 1 running back, and yet they're 8-5. Myles Garrett 2 weeks ago went down with a shoulder injury. He's back playing well. So, and Joe Flacco, I watched him a couple of weeks ago against the Rams quite intensely, and he can still throw the ball. He's still got plenty of pace on it. He can throw that deep ball. So definitely they've got a chance. He did have a couple of turnovers, but again, I think that's going to come. But with the defense, that can it can be addressed, and they can get the ball back for him. So yeah, it's all to play for in the AFC at the minute in those playoff spots, and I don't think they'll catch the Ravens for winning the division, but they definitely look strong for a wild card spot.
They do. Bish, we've got the Punt projects, the waiver wire pickups, maybe the most important segment of the year, week 1. You don't want to just make the playoffs. You want to progress past that first week. There's so many players injured throughout the board. So who are you going with?
We've just spoke about him. It's Joe Flacco for me. 9% owned in the sleeper. His last 2 performances against the Rams and the Jags, 17 points, 21 points. Last week, you've just said it, 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. He seems to be finding a nice connection with Elijah Moore. And they've also got Njoku, who went off this weekend as well. So, reports are that he's very much enjoying his time there. They've named him the starter for the rest of the season. So he will be with you in your fantasy playoffs. And I haven't written it down, but I'm just going to quickly have a look because he's got a nice run. And he's actually one that I'm thinking about. Do I take a gamble on him myself, given my quarterback situation? It's the Chicago Bears this week and the Houston Texans next week. So he's got 2 very friendly games for him there. So yeah, Joe Flacco. If you need if you've just lost Justin Herbert or someone else, he could be your man.
I like it. Yeah, well, I don't have loads more to say on that one, Bish. I think I've covered it in my section before. It looks awesome, as you said. He's throwing that deep ball, and he's a Bish player. I think he's got that flaw with Njoku and Cooper there, and how good that defense is. He's always going to be in good ball. They're not going to be handing it off to the running back all the time. They'll be going for it. So I think you could have a nice player and 40-year-old Joe Flacco could be a ticket into the second round of the playoffs.
The biggest gamble of the punt this year, Joe Flacco or Justin Fields at quarterback for Bish. Oof, it's tough.
Comments in now. Get your comments in. I'm going Joe. I'm going Flacco. My player, I've not got a player. I've got a defense. Defenses, I think, are so important. As it's been proven, we've gone over them. I pretty much made my fantasy playoffs on the back of that Dallas defense earlier on in the year, getting me through many matchups early on that I shouldn't have won. It saved me. So I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons for one reason, and one reason only. They're against the Carolina Panthers. They look like they give up the Panthers. The fans are revolted. They can't live what they're watching. Bryce Young is actually looking okay to say he's on the work. He's got a horrendous receiving core. He's got no running backs. The defensive line is awful. doing enough, I think, to give me a bit of hope. Still got turnovers, interceptions, this, so it's not a CJ Stroud situation where we're talking about near MVP level. But I think you see enough there, but they're still horrendous. They have no other options. Bryce Young just goes on that. Atlanta, just quickly on them, against the New York Jets, a similar situation. Scored 21 points, scored 14 against New Orleans, 11 against the Minnesota with the backup quarterback. You've got Tampa Bay in there. I think when they are there, when Baker was out of the game, they scored 30 in week 1 a long time ago. So I'm sure they're saying it's exactly the same. They scored 13 against Carolina. I think Carolina going off worse. I think that's just obviously the Reds are down and they know the season. They know they're really bad this year. The Saints played Carolina last week, or yesterday, and they got 17 fantasy points. I think the writing's on the wall. I think Atlanta, they're a great defense. Probably in line with the Saints, maybe a bit better throughout the year, and I think you're in for minimum 10 points, and they could get you through a one way you should lose, and the defense pulls you through. Get the Atlanta Falcons on your team if you've got any bad left.
I agree 100%. And it's, to be honest, if I am streaming defenses, I'm probably picking the defense that comes up against the Panthers throughout the playoffs if I can, or get them all this week. Yeah. Get them all sat on your bench this week, because I think it's a great matchup. They ran the ball a little bit last week. Miles Sanders had a decent game, but again, they still turn the ball over. So yeah, Atlanta is a great defense. Jesse Bates and AJ Terrell. So I think they'll at least get one interception.
Ish, who's your second waiver wire pickup?
My second is Demarcus Robinson, the wide receiver for the Rams. And I had to double check this one on Sleeper, because he's actually, if this is right, he's 0% owned going into last week. So I'm pretty sure that'll change this week. And, the Rams, we know Puka Nacua, we know Cooper Kupp, we know now Kyron Williams is doing his thing. But actually, Demarcus Robinson in his last 2 games, he's been over 10 fantasy points, 13 and 12, and he scored 2 red zone touchdowns in each game. So he is a red zone target. Stafford's looking for him in that end zone. And he had, actually last week against the Ravens, he had 10 targets. So he was joint with Kupp for the most targets on the team. So he's getting plenty of work. And I just think if you're one of these sort of who's lost a player, maybe Justin Jefferson can't make it, and you need that dart throw, this could be a guy who potentially can turn a sort of 6, 7, 8 point half PPR game, take him out, put Demarcus Robinson in, and you could double that. So it is a dice throw, but they're coming up against the Commanders, and then they've got the Giants. So Commanders, we spoke about them on the show before, not a great defense, no pass rush, secondary's not the best. So, with the way the Rams are playing, they could easily dice up the Commanders there.
I like it, Bish. I've got not much else to say. I think you covered everything quite well there. So get Demarcus Robinson in your team, and like you said, if you're looking for that high upside, if you're projected to score a lot less, and your opponent has it, it's worth a punt, isn't it? I didn't mean to do that. I keep doing that actually.
You're good at that. Yeah.
Definitely worth a punt is Demarcus Robinson. I'll go through my second one. I've got Gardner Minshew. There's a lot of quarterbacks injured, Bish, and I like the consistency of Minshew. He's got 15 points last week, 18 points the week before against Tennessee. Tampa Bay, he got 15. He had a bad one against New England, so you've got to keep that into account. But otherwise than that, he's been pretty consistent all year. He's against Pittsburgh, not the best typically, normally a brilliant defense, not the best defense this year, middle of the pack. Then they've got Atlanta, who are a good defense, but it's about that Pittsburgh. You're streaming your quarterbacks if you're looking at Gardner Minshew. And I think with Pittsburgh's defense being middle of the pack, you've got Minshew and the Colts still having some great stuff in them, having some big weeks. I think you take a punt on him. I think he'll get you that consistency, get you that floor of around 14 to 18 points, and you're not worried about your quarterback if he's in. You know you've got Mr. Consistent, the Minshew Mania himself, and you can look at your other positions to get your points.
Yeah, I think he's a good option, like you said. Pittsburgh, they've not got that much on attack. Obviously Kenny Pickett's gone out as well, so he could get that ball in favourable field positions, which will only add to potentially him throwing some touchdowns. So he's been linking up pretty well with Michael Pittman lately. So yeah, and we love a bit of Minshew mania, don't we? So yeah, let's Minshew bring you your fantasy first round win.
Brilliant. Bish, have you got one more, or are you happy with your waiver wire pickups?
No, I think I'll stick with them. Yeah,
I like it. You've got some good ones. Bish, I know you've got a good story here. You've been on it all year long. The punters, we've got the best kicker of the week. It's a man who's come up before. Give us it, Bish.
Yeah, I think he's the first double winner, isn't he? It's got to be the Cowboys kicker, Brandon Aubrey. 22 points this week. I think he's beat half my team in points this week, and 100% with a boot, 4 field goals, 3 extra points. But just the field goals, he's kicked a 60-yarder, a 59-yarder, and a 50-yarder as well. So, and he's kicked them with ease. That 60-yarder, I think he's got at least another 10 yards in him. So, on an offense where he's getting plenty of practice, extra points. They're scoring a lot of points, but he's just proving that, if you're coming up against Dallas, you're going to have to keep scoring, because this guy can slot him over from 60 yards, and I think he could easily get it from 70. So yeah, Brandon Aubrey from the MLS to the NFL, and he's kicking his way to potentially a Super Bowl.
Yeah, like you said, awesome, great storyline, and biggest leg I've ever seen. He's probably, I think he'll be on for breaking Justin Tucker's kicks. He's got, like you said, that 60. It didn't even just get in. It was top of the post, wasn't it? It was like anything I've ever seen. I couldn't believe it. So yeah, what a story. I've got my kicker of the week is a man for probably the other end of the spectrum of his career. Greg the Leg Zerline. I've changed my pick, Bish, so you're a bit surprised there, I think, but I've changed my thing. Greg the Leg has got to make it. He deserves it. 17 points, 3 field goals, 3 extra points. Legend of the kicking game in the NFL, everyone. Greg the Leg played on Dallas, he's played how many years, Bish? I think he's in his 42nd. I think he's about 42 years old. He's not got any hair left on his head. But he's Greg the Leg Zerline, and he's one of the best kickers in NFL history, and deserves a shout out when he has a big week.
Yeah, he certainly did, didn't he? And again, he was at the Rams for a long time. He's got a hell of a boot. Again, I think he got over 17 points possibly. He got a lot. So in a game, if they can keep the games tight, he can kick them over. So they've got a great defense, the Jets, and he does the rest. So if they can stay competitive, the Jets, I'm sure he'll have a good end of the year.
And just to be more correct, he just to prove me wrong, he spent 1 year at Dallas, like you said, a long time Rams player. Spent 2 years at Dallas. Sorry, so that was when my big years watching. And he's only 35, so I had a brilliant description of Greg the Leg then.
20 years left.
Plenty of years left in Greg the Leg. But Bish, give us your final thoughts going into week one of the playoffs. I'm super excited. But Bish, take us away.
Good luck for those that have already cemented it, and fingers crossed for those battling it out in tonight's 2 games. So yeah, good luck with that. Please subscribe, like the videos, pass it on to your friend if they're interested. And like we said, we've got some spots up for grabs next year. So please get in the comments, send us a message on social media, and we can get you on the short list to get in the Punt League. And yeah, stay tuned, because we have stuff. We have the fantasy show, the top 6 playoff show coming out. That will possibly be Tuesday or Wednesday this week. And then the betting show, and we're we're both hitting bets at the minute, so we're getting hot at the right time.
That's what counts, Bish. Hot into the playoffs, hot into the betting. It's when everyone's watching anyway. They're probably not been interested in week one to think they'll be interested in playoff time, and that's where we shine, Bish. Let's go and see you on Thursday.
See you soon.